Today we've got news that Sheldon Adelson has given a tremendous amount of money to fight Hillary Clinton and, yes, to support Donald Trump. First, let me give you that news from Fox News, of all places. This is an exclusive. Billionaire Sheldon Adelson just committed $25 million to an anti-Hillary Clinton super PAC to try to help and tilt the presidential race down ballot House and Senate races to Republicans, Fox News learned Monday. There are indications the casino magnate will pony up even more by the end of the week. And in fact, they report a little bit later. Most importantly, one source familiar with the Adelson contribution revealed that he's considering pouring as much as another $25 million into the race before Election Day on November 8th. Well, we've allowed wide-scale bribery. We've legalized it. So Adelson, who got in trouble for bribing officials in China, had to pay a $9 million fine here to settle that issue. Thinks, well, in America, great, we legalized it. He's going to pour in. He's already put in 25, might put in $50 million in a week to support Donald Trump to defeat Hillary Clinton. Well, let's find out. Now, Adelson claims that one of his big issues is Israel. He's a right-wing supporter of the right-wing government of Israel, and he thinks he's a big ally of Israel. He's just its biggest supporter. Now, let's find out what Donald Trump and his supporters are actually about and see if Adelson's right about that, or perhaps he cares a little bit more about making sure that the wages are low in his casinos and Trump will help him do that, and making sure that he doesn't have any further legal problems and Trump can help him do that. So, good for Adelson, I guess. I don't know if it's good for anyone else. So, remember the stories I told you about earlier in the campaign. When I first rang the bell and said, whoa, I haven't seen anything like this in a long, long time. Yeah, we know that Donald Trump came out against Mexicans, called them criminals and rapists, but we've seen, not to that extreme, but we've seen those kind of attacks against Mexicans before. He came out against Muslims, but so many come out against Muslims. Are any of those things right? No, they're horribly wrong. One of the great fighters against his bigotry towards Muslims is the Anti-Defamation League, who says, no, you should not discriminate against one religion like that. And they've been great fighters in that arena. But once they start hitting Jewish Americans, you know that they're close to the bottom of the barrel. Because that means not only is it another group that they have attacked, let alone African Americans, women, etc., but they feel like there are no rules anymore. It's no holds barred. We're right back to horrible, horrible times. So the first time that I warned you about that was when Ann Coulter tweeted, after one of the primary debates, I'm going to say it, how many fucking Jews do these people think there are in the United States? Because they were talking about Israel and supporting Israel. And she tweeted that out. Like, no, and then there was no reaction. No. But that's the thing. If you let him say it about Mexicans, then you let him say it about black people, and you let him say it about Muslims. So when she says that about Jews, well, it doesn't seem that surprising. And then Ted Nugent came out with this Facebook page, which is unbelievable. So who's really behind gun control? And he has a picture of 12 Jewish Americans there, not from Israel, they're Americans. And he puts the Israeli flag next to them. And later, he kind of apologized for it. What is this a mistake? Oops, I happen to put the Israeli flag next to all those Jews. Was that anti-Semitic? Yes, it was. And it was clearly so. I rang the bell and, oh no, don't make too much of it, not a big deal. Then Donald Trump, on one of the many atrocious things he's done, put out this tweet about Hillary Clinton. Crooked Hillary makes history with a Jewish star in it. It says most corrupt candidate ever. Now, it's not yellow, it's red. And they said, oh, it could be a sheriff's star. You don't know it's a Jewish star, it's a sheriff's star. Well, except for the fact that Mike, which is MIC, it's a website, went and found where that original meme came from. Came from an alt-right website, and yes, it was a Jewish star. And in it, you put the most corrupt candidate ever. And then you look online, there's now memes of Hillary Clinton with a large nose, saying who's she with. You know what this means, you know it, but if you don't know it, they're gonna make it even clearer to you. So, remember, just earlier this week, a couple of days ago, we had this guy. Let's go to video 2, screaming this at the press.
You're the enemy. You're the ones working for the devil, baby. USA! 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 We're run by the Jews, okay? USA!
To our society will be a very, very high priority of my presidency.
Y'all don't tell me, I tell you.
You can say, hey, that guy's nuts. But yeah, I know. That's why we shouldn't let people who are nuts in charge of the country. Okay, but he's not alone. You think he's alone? Let alone all these other examples of prominent surrogates for Trump and supporters of Trump. Okay, now our reporter producer Eric Byler was at a Trump rally. And this guy steps up and he interviews him. Now listen to what this young Trump supporter says about Zionism.
I like Donald Trump as president, and that's what we need to make this country great again, to end a lot of things. We need to end Zionism, which is huge, and it's probably the biggest problem that we have in this country today and around the globe, which is a few people controlling pretty much everything, all the money, all the business, brainwashing all the people from the education systems, everything. So Zionism is, it's basically an ideology in which a few people at the top from a specific religious group control the masses. And most people have no idea, they've never heard the term, but it's probably the biggest problem we have in the world today. Follow Alex Jones, Infowars.com. The Young Turks is not the best network to follow. The Truth is with David Duke and Alex Jones.
David Duke and Alex Jones. Now, you want to have issues with specific Israeli policies, of course. That's a perfectly normal political conversation to have. You want to have issues with the ideology of Zionism, which, by the way, is not at all what he said it was. Okay, that's a conversation you can have. But to say the Zionists control the world and it's people from a specific group, well, it's not complicated. It's not subtle. That's as anti-Semitic as it gets. And if it wasn't clear, he referenced David Duke. Now, I interviewed David Duke in the beginning of the campaign. Some people gave me heat for it. Why bother with a guy who's irrelevant, who's going to spout this nonsense, racist, bigoted stuff? Well, it turns out, kind of relevant. Donald Trump refused to denounce him in an interview. It made giant news. At one point, he's out there constantly supporting Donald Trump. And now we have the Trump supporters going, oh, yeah. I mean, where do I get this stuff from? I get it from David Duke. So listen to just a small snippet. That's about all you can bear of my interview with David Duke, because he is unbearable. And his anti-Semitism is not at all disguised. Watch.
I think the real reason why I went to prison was because I dared to challenge the Jewish supremacist, the Jewish racist rule over American foreign policy, of the American government. I've got a choice of going to court of law in New Orleans with 50% of the judges that are Jewish.
And they were let off scot-free, and they were almost all white.
Yeah, like the Zionist bankers of Goldman Sachs, who stole $500 billion. Decades, had only Jewish Zionists, all right, chairman and vice chairman, Greenspan and Cohn, Bernanke and Yellen, and now Yellen and Fisher. Fisher's also a citizen of Israel. Ben Shalom Bernanke is a very strong Jewish supporter of Israel. He's a strong supporter of Jewish establishment organizations.
What is the
Anybody who thinks he's not going to favor his own fellow Jewish bankers in giving out that money.
So if you notice, he put up a picture there of Jewish Americans, kind of similar to the Ted Nugent picture. This stuff comes from somewhere. It comes from monsters like David Duke. And now, one of their guys who's been saying things like this, dog whistle politics that Trump has been, he's been more brazen on the issue of Mexicans, Muslims, etc. But he's been allowing these guys to back him, support him without denouncing him. And it's all coming together. Where do you think they get these ideas? This is where they get them. And by the way, the same trick they did on Obama. And if you didn't call him out when they started calling him Barack Hussein Obama, don't be surprised when all of a sudden it's Ben Shalom Bernanke. That's where we are today. We're at the bottom of the barrel. So now we're going to go to Donald Trump. Again, this was something I pointed out. I don't know why the rest of the press let this go. Look at the outrageous stereotypes that Donald Trump uses when he was talking to the Republican Jewish Coalition. This was way early on in the primaries. And I guess people were so burned out by how many outrageous things he said. But look at all the tropes here. Watch.
I'm a negotiator like you folks. We're negotiators. Do you want to renegotiate deals? Some of us renegotiate deals. I would say about 99.9. Is there anybody that doesn't renegotiate deals in this room? This room negotiates. I want to renegotiate this room. Perhaps more than any room I've ever spoken to. Maybe more. It's okay. I've been called on that a couple of times, too. You're not going to support me, even though you know I'm the best thing that could ever happen to Israel. And I'll be that. And I know why you're not going to support me. And, you know, you're not going to support me because I don't want your money. You don't want to give me money, okay? But that's okay. You want to control your own politician. That's fine. Good. But I will think about that, folks. Don't worry about it. I understand. Hey, 5 months ago, I was with you.
Not with you anymore. So some people will say, of course, oh, but his daughter married Jared Kushner, who's Jewish, and she converted to Judaism, so it's all solved. Does it look like it's solved? I mean, his reference to this room, you know, everybody in this room renegotiates. These are, again, it's barely a dog whistle. We can all hear it. And then to say, you guys control the politicians. Jesus, where do you think they get it from? There it is, right there. And so you think that a tiger changes his stripes? That guy's thought these things about Jews for his whole life. His daughter marries someone and you think, oh, that's it, it's all gone? It's not gone. Now listen carefully to what he says in this rally. Now remember the kid that we interviewed just a couple of days ago talking about the bankers who control everyone, right? And then David Duke talking about the Jewish bankers who control everyone. Ted Nugent with the pictures of some of those bankers. Now listen to what Trump says carefully in this rally.
The Clinton machine is at the center of this power structure. We've seen this firsthand in the WikiLeaks documents in which Hillary Clinton meets in secret with international banks to plot the destruction of U.S. sovereignty in order to enrich these global financial powers, her special interest friends, and her donors. So true. Honestly, she should be locked up. Should be locked up.
The global financial powers. I've heard these things before. And then they chant, lock her up, lock her up. So, are you really going to be surprised after the election if he comes for you? Let me leave you on this note. There's a book called Hitler, Ascent, 1889 to 1939. And in it, don't worry about the opinions of the author. Don't worry about anything else. I know it's outrageous. You're not allowed to compare present-day fascists to past fascists. Well, let me just read to you how the press at the time, as Hitler was ascending, what they called him and how they wrote about it. Quote, he's just a pathetic dunderhead. He's, quote, a half-insane rascal, just a rascal. And, quote, most unlikely pretender to high state office. Don't worry, he's not going to win anyway. He's not going to do those things. Nothing to worry about here. Don't worry about what he tells you he's going to do, what his supporters say they're going to do, the state violence that they promise. Don't worry about any of that. Well, it turns out you should have worried about it. We all, as a world, should have worried about it. And we are a week before the election. This is the time to worry about it. There's so much more Young Turks content if you're a member. Great shows like Aggressive Progressives, Old School, you'll get post games, all ad-free, plus the whole 2-hour show. I know what you're thinking.
This is huge.
And it kind of is. So come join us. tytnetwork.com/join.